Thanks, Micheál, and I'll be fast. Taoiseach, you're incredibly welcome to the Seanad. I think, as Micheál pointed out, that you've held a number of offices in what can only be described as a very long and distinguished public service record, from starting off in Cork and rising all the way through the ranks to what I can tell you is I'm very pleased to see you as Taoiseach, and I'm very pleased that you are our Taoiseach, my Taoiseach, and it's an honour for me to be your representative in this House, and thank you for giving me that honour. I want to just say, so as you're well and you've alluded to, that politics can be very adversarial, particularly when people are on different sides of the houses, and then we suddenly become friends when we're on the same side of the house. But I can genuinely say I have admired you for many years, and it's not least of which because of your stance on certain issues, but because for me the measure of a man is how he or she or a woman treats somebody in private. And I think you well know how much I respect you for the way that you treated Micheál when she was a subject of major trauma and reliving that trauma because of actions of other parties. And I want to just put that on the record that I'm very grateful for how you treat people, both in private as well as your public persona, and to thank you for that. I also would like to thank you for the particular attention that you pay towards men's mental health and men's good health. I think you're aware from recent statistics that the major problem that we have in this country, and we have some wonderful organisations, and indeed NOSP, the state, and their response to how we help people who are in mental health difficulties or having just bad periods of their life. But unfortunately, young men from the ages of 20 to 41 are not in the catchment group that we are helping because they're not coming forward for help. And so unfortunately, when we look at our statistics of suicide, they are the people who are being successful. And where our success should be measured is on our direct approach to young men in campaigns and reaching out. And I would ask you to sincerely engage with Mary Butler, who's doing a wonderful job, to run specific campaigns for our farming community, run specific campaigns for men and women who are incarcerated in our prisons in the country, but particularly for young men of the ages of 20 to 40, and for us to find ways to reach them that we're not currently doing. I want to commend you, Taoiseach, for your shared island approach. And again, I know how long you have felt that we needed to change our approach to how we interact with our citizens on all parts of this island. I think it's a really welcome and a novel approach, and I think the most important thing, in fact, that you've done is actually listen. I think it's sometimes a mistake from politicians to think that we need to be heard, whereas a lot of the time we have two ears and one mouth and we don't use them in accordance with that. But I think you have really shown your leadership by listening and engaging with people in the north of Ireland, and I just want to acknowledge and commend you for that. I want to also commend, but also make an ask. I want to welcome the fact that you have, as part of the programme for government, brought forward a minister for third level education and science and research. I think education is absolutely the groundbreaking equaliser. It can be true and said of some of the difficulties that we've had in Northern Ireland, but it's absolutely true that when we look at areas of deprivation, and obviously I'm aware of this, having the privilege of being Minister for Social Protection for a number of years, when we look at areas of deprivation, we know that the equaliser that's missing there is the access to opportunity to education. So I want to commend you for ensuring that everybody will have an equality of opportunity. But I want to ask you, would you look specifically at lifelong learning, and particularly for women who've left the workforce? We need women to be mothers and to be parents and to obviously to rear their children and have special relationships as we do. But when those women want to come back to work and suffer a confidence of crisis, I think we need to absolutely be there for them. It's something that we had started a number of years ago, but because of COVID it's probably been interrupted. We need to look at returnship, but we need to look at confidence rebuilding, and a huge way to do that for women is through education. So I'd ask you to have a look at the objectives of the EBSCO Council with regard to lifelong learning, and put some money behind that in the third level institutions, if you could. And very finally, Taoiseach, I think I'd probably do myself a disservice if I didn't talk about antigen testing and COVID today. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody, and I don't envy you guys and ladies that are making the decisions and are making them in our best interest for the last 20 months. But antigen screening has a place in society. I think the paternalistic language that's been used by some of our advisors just isn't going down well. It certainly has a place for the asymptomatic people who are walking around, 6 of them for every 1 COVID-positive person that's been caught by our public health response. And I certainly think that we need to change our attitude. So I would ask you to reconsider and make a political decision to roll out antigen tests to all of those asymptomatic people so that they can curb their behaviour when they do find that they are positive. Because right now, without the lack of tests, we have asymptomatic positive people going around the country not even knowing that they have. And very finally, I'd just like to ask you, Taoiseach, to have a look at medical exemptions for those people that we acknowledge can't take a vaccine. I have a 12-year-old little pal who has Down syndrome, who is just petrified. His mammy can't make him take it, but he's been excluded from activities in school. He's been excluded from Special Olympics, and now he got told today he's going to be excluded from his Christmas pantomime. It's just not fair. I know we're trying to encourage people to take the vaccine who just have other fears. This is a little man, and there's plenty of people with medical exemptions that I think we owe them a service to make sure that they are included fully in society. Thank you.